EY as Ernst & Young, and in 2013 we rebranded ourselves to be EY, and we adopted a really inspiring purpose, which is to build a better working world. Along with that, we created a new strategy called Vision 2020, and our ambition is to double our size, double our revenue by 2020 and be a $50 billion company or a $50 billion organization. And we are on track to make that, actually. Last year, our revenue growth was almost 12% worldwide. Learning is playing a really key role in accelerating the development of the skills that we need to achieve that very ambitious growth target. And one of the ways we're accelerating the development of skills is to use evidence as a basis for making our decisions and for the practices that we are infusing into our learning. It's a kind of a natural, actually, for a company that has a huge audit practice. They really love data and evidence, so it's not a hard sell to get them to buy into the fact that we're building our learning function around data as well. So what do we mean by evidence-based practice? It's about making decisions based on facts and data rather than opinions or theories or intuition. And sometimes you have to go with theory and intuition when there isn't a lot of evidence, but you need to start building up the evidence for your theory, even if there isn't a lot of external evidence for it. Now, evidence-based practice has been very popular and is very popular in many fields, particularly medicine, management science, and even education at large. Schools, higher education, there's been a lot of research and a lot of movements towards evidence-based practice. And it's not a stretch, really, to think about taking all of that research on learning that's been done in other educational contexts and translating that into corporate learning. And that's what we're trying to do at EY. The benefits of evidence-based practice are many, and first and foremost, you're going to increase the odds of success. Because if you know something worked before, and you have evidence for that, you can do it again and again and know that you're going to have the same outcome. It's like the same in medicine with drugs. Another thing it helps us with is to filter the trends that come at us from all sides, even here at a conference like this. New methodologies, new technologies, new approaches to learning. If we have an anchor and a base of evidence, it allows us to go below the surface and look for the active ingredients and ask, well, are they there? Or can we deliver active ingredients like authentic practice and corrective feedback in the context of this new delivery channel, for example? We also increase our own credibility, and it's amazing how much a little data can go a long way when you're having a conversation with a business leader. They really do listen and respond to data. Now, where do we go to get this data or this evidence? Two places. We can look externally to all of the research that exists on how people learn and what works in education and in learning. A lot of academic research has been done, and the best places to go are to the meta-analyses or the reviews of research, because people smarter than us have poured through all the studies and identified the ones that really had good methodologies and then come to conclusions such as the comparison between online and classroom learning. There is actually no difference in the effectiveness of online and classroom learning, provided that the methods used are similar, that the learners are engaging in the same kinds of cognitive processes, practice in both media. We're also very lucky that there are many researchers and practitioners who have gotten together and written very practical books that translate the research into practical techniques for us. A good example of a book like that is E-Learning and the Science of Instruction by Ruth Clark and Rich Mayer. And there are many more, and I have some pictures on the next slide of some of the books that I tend to go to. We can also look at studies that other corporations do and publish. For example, if another corporation or another firm has found a correlation between even consumption of learning and a business metric like revenue, and if our learning is of equal quality of theirs, we can extrapolate and use that as evidence too for more learning and the value of just amount of learning, forget type. And then there are studies by professional associations like CLO Media and others. And the best of those studies are the ones that separate the high-performing companies from the average companies and then look at what are learning practices that are going on more in the high-performing companies. And again, that's a source of evidence of if we need to make a decision, it's something on which to base the decision. Internal evidence is just as important and maybe even more important than the external, because even if it worked somewhere else, you have to prove that it worked in your own organization, and you have to pilot and measure before you scale things. The way we look at internal evidence is we have 4 types and 4 categories. The ongoing reporting of our learning metrics over time, because they provide a baseline and allow us to see improvements if we do something big, like maybe install a new system. We can look again, are people learning more? What kinds of learning are they choosing when they have more of a choice in what they learn, etc. And then the good old standby program evaluation. Again, if you're going to do something new, if you're going to invest in a big program, you've got to do your 4 levels of evaluation. First of all, to get to the end so that you can demonstrate and prove that it had an impact on your business. But all along the way, you have an audit trail to show if it didn't, or to understand if it didn't have that impact, what went wrong? Was it that they didn't like it? Was it that they didn't actually achieve the learning objectives that you wanted them to? And then when they got back to the job, were they able to use it, or were there barriers for using it? The third category is analytics. Once we have gotten our data organized, our learning data, our learning metrics, and we have other databases like retention, like talent metrics and business metrics, we can start doing the kind of big data analysis that correlates these different metrics. And we've been able to make some good linkages between things like, even again, consumption of learning and retention, engagement, and some of our business metrics. And then you can do special studies, sometimes to validate some of the trends that are popular in the field. For example, last year we did a big study of the voice of the learner. We wanted to know, what do our people want to learn and how do they want to learn? And we were quite surprised when we didn't see any differences among the geographies, among the ranks, among even the generations in their preferences. They all wanted the same thing. They wanted to continue with the things that they like and that we have, big programs that we have, but they wanted easier access to more online and just-in-time learning that would help them at their point of need. We all need that. So it's not just the new generations who want it, at least at EY, but that was a special study we did. When we look externally, like I said, we have all of these great sources of research and translations of research to practice. Some of the things you find are new strategies in learning that we might not have popularized or used a lot in corporate learning. For example, self-explanation. The value of having people explain to themselves what they just heard, what they just did, why something they did was correct or incorrect, is way more valuable than having somebody else explain it to them. And that's a really inexpensive, easy intervention or easy add to put in any of your learning programs across any medium. So how do you scale all of those great research-based strategies that work and bake them into, and scale them and bake them into the work that you're doing across the organization? One of the ways we're doing this at EY is with a checklist, a simple checklist, the power of a checklist. And this checklist incorporates items like self-explanation, and we use it to evaluate the quality of existing learning, and we also have it become the standard to which we now develop any new content that we're building. Back to the internal evidence, and I said we had 4 categories, and the way we're implementing each of these, I'll give you some examples here. For the reporting, we're being very careful about the definitions of the metrics and even how we're calculating them. There might be 5 different ways to calculate cost per hour of learning, but we want to have one version of the calculation, one version of the definition, clean data, and then a dashboard that is one place where everybody goes for the same information, and they can filter it depending on their audience and their need. Program evaluation, we've standardized on a methodology for that. I think you need to standardize and not have different methodologies being used for different studies and different programs. And we have moved to surveys, standard surveys for levels 1, 2, and 3, very simple and very short. And then for our level 4, we're very lucky again to be able to get access to good business data and do the kind of controlled comparisons that you need to show the impact. We also pilot, measure, and scale, as I said before. On the analytics, we're creating little templates and engines to repeatedly run the same analysis based on those combinations of data from learning, talent, and business. Things like bubble charts and just simple correlational charts that draw from the database and then show you in a simple format some of the relationships and patterns. And then, like I said, we're doing some of the special studies as well. Now, by combining this external evidence that we bring to bear as we design and develop and deliver our programs, coupled with that internal discipline of looking at our data consistently and doing the studies, already we've been able to show some of these major impacts that we're having with the programs that were built to be successful, and now we have some evidence. For example, 4 times the value of opportunities, client opportunities identified by senior managers who went through an experiential program. 16% increase in revenue from emerging markets where we target and have programs for our partners. 34% increase in win rate from some of our new technical training in the audit space. That's again very experiential. 35% difference in revenue growth for partners who have been through a high potential program to prepare them to be partners versus those who haven't. That's in their first year. And finally, we've been able to make linkages between things like satisfaction with career development or satisfaction with learning and engagement, retention, and gross margin. So those are just some of the results that we're getting, but I think the point here is that you have to have the discipline and you have to have that mindset of being evidence-based and data-driven, and it will yield the results. As Deming, the grandfather or the father of the quality movement, used to say, "In God we trust, all others bring data." And I think that's our mantra and our watchword here. So thank you very much. I hope I've inspired you to look at learning in a very data-based way, and also to professionalize what we do and professionalize the people who work with us every day on our learning programs. Thank you.